Hello everybody, this short video is on being a better communicator by being a better listener. You know, we all know that in our business, and particularly in our business, communication is really the key. Sometimes my friends and family may ask me, you know, Jim, what's the most challenging part of your job, or what's the most difficult part of the job? You know, is it that you have to know all the codes? Is it keeping up with the code updates? You know, is it managing the staff or handling the complaints? You know, if I had to summarize my job, well, you know, sure, the job has all that. But to summarize, the important thing a building official or building inspector does is essentially we're always trying to convince someone to do things that they don't necessarily think they need to do. And getting there without getting in an argument or getting into a fist fight is really the goal. You want to shake hands and smile at the end of the conversation. You know, remember the saying that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth? You know, there's a reason for that. Listening is fundamental to good communication. Many people spend way too much time speaking and not enough time listening. You know, here's a little known fact. The best communicators are the best listeners. They listen much more than they speak. Communication is not all about talking. You know, the person that speaks the longest or the loudest or the most words does not necessarily prevail at communicating the best. You know, we all know people or have friends, family, you know, staff, and even some of our customers that will try to control the situation by constantly talking over you. You almost have to wait for them to take a breath so you can respond without talking over them. You know who I'm talking about. Everybody's visualizing somebody right now. But here's a fact. The loudest voice doesn't necessarily win. Keeping somebody else from talking by continuously talking over them doesn't convince the other party your message is correct. So don't be that guy. You know, the best communicators are the best listeners. And not sure why that's so hard to figure out for some people. You know, when you listen, you gain many benefits. You save time due to less communication errors. You build relationships and you build respect. You know, people like to feel they're being heard by you, and by quietly listening, absorbing, and processing what they said shows the person you care and helps to build respect with that person. You know, these are all great benefits, and they're free, so take advantage of them. Okay, let's talk now how to be a good listener. You know, the rules are really simple. First, don't multitask. Don't do anything else. If your phone rings, don't answer it. Don't look at the caller ID if you receive a text. Don't read it, don't look at it. You know, something's going on outside the window, don't look out the window. You know, this behavior will divide your attention and blocks the message. You know, few people, including myself, are clever enough to process all these different events at one time. You know, when you do this, the speaker will feel like he or she is not being heard. They will pick up on this, and they will perceive you as not being present in the moment, not caring about what they have to say. You know, you're up north daydreaming somewhere. And simply stated, put down all other work and don't focus on anything except the person speaking. Okay, next, look the person in the eye. Ignore all other visual distractions. If a car honks the horn, don't look out the window. Give them your full undivided attention. They deserve it. And if the tables were turned, you would want that person to do the same for you. And use appropriate body language. Try not to be overly rigid. Don't use what could be perceived as a negative use of your arms or expressions. You know, don't cross arms. Don't lean forward. You know, appear interested and smile. Nod when they make important points. You know, a good listener is silent and thinks about what is being said. You would demand the same respect from any government official you were talking to, right? We've all been to the Secretary of State. You know, sometimes we think we know where the conversation is going to go. It could be a topic we have all addressed what seems like 100 or more times, you know, deck railings, for instance. How many conversations have you had about deck railings or stair geometry or handrails? You know, during these times, we often stop listening and we start forming opinions and responses in our mind. We think we know what will be said next, and it's not going to be interesting. We find ourselves prematurely forming opinions and attempting to cut through the chase in order to save time and effort and get on to something more important, more interesting. Well, guess what? this is important. Maybe not to you, but to the client who you're communicating with, it is important. More than likely, they actually got in their car and drove down to your office just to have this conversation, or at least part of this conversation. It's important to them. When you are prematurely forming opinions, you may miss key points of the conversation. Remember what we said earlier about multitasking? It could be said that prematurely forming responses when you should be listening is also mental multitasking. So, to reiterate, don't judge. Don't prematurely formulate opinions or responses. When you stop listening or multitask your mental efforts, you may miss facts, keywords, or even little cues such as facial expressions or voice inflections. And here's another tip. Take notes. It frees your brain up, allows you to focus and concentrate on the subject and his facts, not on memorizing the key facts or issues that were stated. It also shows the speaker what he or she is saying is important and that you care. You don't have to immortalize the entire conversation in writing verbatim. Just get the key facts and points of what the person is trying to communicate to you. It will not only show that you are listening, but you actually care enough to write it down. For those of us that are blessed with a lot of meetings, for lack of a better word, taking notes is a must anyway. At the end of the conversation, summarize back to the speaker what was said, what you think you heard. You don't have to recant the entire conversation over again. Just something like, so if I understand you right, you want us to do A, B, and C, and meanwhile you're going to do D, E, and F. And by repeating these main points back to the speaker, it confirms that you were listening. It confirms you care. And finally, give him or her a chance to clarify the points or confirm what you heard is correct. These tips will help you become a great communicator by becoming a great listener. Thank you.